Hi, everyone. Welcome to our very first episode of At Home With. And we are at home today with David Edelman, CMO of Aetna, Chief Marketing Officer of Aetna. So, David, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure, Kathy.
This is our first time experiment with this technology, too. So, Kathy Varney, who is also a board member from Log Me In, has been so generous with us. She is giving us all the access to this technology, and this is GoToMeeting. So if we have any disruption, it's because this is our first time on GoToMeeting, but we're excited. And so thank you for doing this with us.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy, for the access. That's great.
Absolutely. So talk to me a little bit about, obviously you're at home, hence the title, At Home With. Is this the space you're in? Because I want the beginning of this to be a little bit personal. Is the space you're in, this looks like a wine cellar to me behind your head. Where are you? What do you call home office when you're at home?
Yeah, so I live in Lexington, Massachusetts, and usually I have a small home office that I'm in. I'm actually not there right now. So we won't have my two Labradoodles body slamming the door while I'm talking to you. We'll be spared that. Because for various reasons, we have a family house up in New Hampshire, so a lake house. So I'm just up there now. I'm at the dining room table. So this is I couldn't, just given the timing, be in my actual home office. But this has worked out well, and it will be spared a lot of unnecessary side noise.
Tell me who so like on a typical day, who are you quarantined with?
Yeah, so we've got four of us at home. So my two sons are with us. So my middle son just graduated from college in January. Not a good time to be starting to look for a job. So he's trying. It's frustrating. And then I have a sophomore son who's home. He's at Elon in North Carolina, although he's not there, in musical theater, which is pretty tough to do online. So he's home as well, trying to figure out how to do a dance course in a bedroom, pushing aside stuff so he can interact. So he's frustrated too. So we have a lot of general frustration there. And then my wife is at home. She's a psychotherapist. She just locks herself up in a room, and she's actually going full blast doing video psychotherapy. A lot of people need help. So she's been quite active through all this. And then, as I mentioned, we have our two dogs who seem to find a need to protect us from every delivery person or any other dog walking down the street. And a lot of people are home, so they're walking dogs. So there's just a lot of noise.
A lot of noise.
From those little pups.
But if you had to be quarantined with a good partner, a psychotherapist to me seems like pretty helpful.
Yes. Although I think she wants to escape from it once she's done doing 6 hours of therapy with folks. I think she hits her limit.
It's a lot. And then when you're not, so obviously we're all working. My joke is I say this whole at home working from home is overrated. But when you're not working, what do you do to sort of fill your time? What are your sort of side passions or things you're saying, you know what, I always wanted to cook more, or what are you doing on your off time?
Yeah. So one thing that's actually been nice is interacting more with the family. So, especially on weekends and sometimes at nights, we're playing games more. Like we took out a chess set that I hadn't taken out in like a decade. And playing other games. We've all learned cribbage, and we're doing cribbage contests. So that's one thing that we as a family just hadn't done. The other thing is I do play saxophone, and that is a big part of my sanity. I try to get in practicing almost every day, not quite, but I still take lessons through video, and I have a combo also, and that doesn't quite work that well on video, but we're trying.
Yeah,
so fun. Yeah, it's fun, and I'm doing a lot of practicing. I compose improvisational solos, although that sounds like a contradiction, composing an improv solo, but that is what I do, and that keeps my brain going, and it's a good way to just shut down, not stare at a screen like I have to do, so much for work. That's been important. And then just getting out, just going for walks and, getting out with the dogs and getting some fresh air. That's critical.
And it's nice to have a getaway in New Hampshire too, to just change your environment. I find if you don't change your environment, you
Yeah.
can't think.
I'm very fortunate that we've got this place that I can escape to. We don't stay here very long because my wife needs to be at home for records and stuff. And my son, they can't, like, my son can't really dance here. There's not enough room. So we spend a little time here.
Yeah, good for you. So I am going to switch over to work a little bit because what's always fascinated me about what you've been through was, so when I first met you, it was just about the time when you were merging with, or partnering, I don't know what to call it, so I'll call it
merging into
merging.
CBS acquired us, yes.
Yeah. And then not long after that, the pandemic hit. So I always looked in awe at you and thought, how do you control this and manage this virtually now? Because talk a little bit about the size of your team, first of all, and the fact that you have this huge in-house agency and how they're brainstorming, et cetera. To me, it's just mind-blowing, and I in awe at how well you've done making this all happen.
Well, thanks, Kathy. I'm very fortunate to have a great team who is really rising to the occasion. I mean, frankly, so many of them came to Aetna because they had a passion for what we could do to help people's lives from a health perspective. And so now with COVID, it's really stretching us and putting us to the test. Every day, there's new things that come up that we have to do, new kinds of benefits that we have to inform members of, major changes to our website to be able to, for example, navigate certain things by state that we didn't necessarily have to have a whole structure before to do. So there's just every day, there's new stuff. We have a stand-up call every day, both the leadership of Aetna, so with my peers outside of marketing, we have a stand-up call every day. We're across the whole business. We're coordinating what's going on, what's hot, what's new, making sure we're staying tight. And then my team has had stand-ups as well to stay coordinated because we just have to, because things are moving so quickly. As a health company, and now especially as part of CVS, a big part of what we're doing is helping people find access to health. And making sure they can get it, coordinating with providers to understand where people can go, because not everything is COVID. People still have other health issues in their lives that they have to deal with. And so in all of those different situations, we have to make sure we connect people. We have a big Medicare business helping people over 65 who are very scared. They're scared to go out. They need access to social services. And we have counselors who can help them do that and who connect them to services such as Meals on Wheels that they may not have known how to get access to. So it's intense. It has been nonstop. And it is something that we talk about. One of the things I'm concerned about is, given how intense it has been and nonstop. And let's also remember, everyone's doing this from home with kids around,
right?
And it's hard to juggle. People can't constantly be on if they're also homeschooling their kids, and just juggling it all. It is hard. It's hard.
David, that leads me to another question, not in order, but you kind of led into it. How are you as a leader working with morale? Do you notice that morale can be, given the circumstances, an issue?
Oh, morale from it takes a number of different forms. I think one thing, just first and foremost, is we got to keep it light. So, in our calls, making fun. I mean, my hair is almost as long as it was in high school.
Looks
You know,
good, by the way. Looks good. Good on you.
so I mean, just keeping it light, making jokes, not constantly, recognizing that a lot of the things we're doing we've never done before. So there's going to be mistakes and learning along the way that we just got to learn from and move forward. So one big thing right up front is keeping it light. And a lot of my teams have done things like virtual happy hours, late on a Friday. Those who want to join can join. They don't have to, have a drink, and they play games. Actually, some of them have come up with various games to play. And I'm recognizing that a lot of folks are burning out, and they need a break. So one thing we're going to be rolling out is actually on Fridays. I'm going to ask everybody not to set up calls. So just making it easy. If people want to take a day off, take PTO, they can, because we won't have calls. Or if they want to just catch up on work, let's just give people some breathing room. And I'm just in general encouraging people to take their paid time off, especially as we get into the summer now, that they don't have to constantly be on. I think when this first hit,
that's a great point, David, because we tend to be in panic mode versus saying, okay, I still need to take a vacation, or I still need personal time off, or so is there something in process now within CVS and Aetna where you have said, okay, this is still, put in your time and relax?
Well, people have paid time off. Just people hadn't taken much off. Let's recognize the fact that a lot of people might have taken time off in the spring, but that's when things hit. They couldn't go anywhere, and things were really intense. So, things like that build. So people have time off that they can take, and we just want to encourage them to do so, especially as they need the time to step back, especially as we get into the summer. I also think we're realizing now this is going to be here for a while. I don't expect our team to go back to the office for quite a while. At least not until the end of the summer, if not later. So we've got to get into a rhythm that we can make work, all of us. And the initial crisis, there was a lot at the beginning, a lot of new things we had to set up, especially websites and outreach mechanisms and things like that. But we've done that now. So now we've got to manage some of the COVID stuff. Of course, that's still there, and there's still the rest of the business. We still have open enrollment in the fall. People sign up. They need benefits. They need to understand what those benefits are. They need to get on board for January. And so all of that we still have to do. That doesn't stop during COVID. So we have to make sure people are getting back to a normal rhythm and give them permission to do that. And as a leader, that's one of the main things that I see as my role, to communicate.
Right. And do you think, and I have to word this carefully because I want to say it properly, but especially in your category in the healthcare industry, I always look for a silver lining everywhere. And as a marketer and as a leader, I see a little bit of a silver lining here where that we all have to stop being so cautious in the testing. Like what I said to my team was, we can't fail. The only way we'll fail is to not experiment, to not try. Like I said to the team, we're on the deep end of the pool. We've got to jump in. Do you feel there's a little bit of that happening in your industry and in your world as well?
Absolutely, no question. There's all kinds of testing. I mean, testing about testing. We offer testing. In our stores. And there's a lot that we've learned about what works and what doesn't work that we didn't know going into it. A lot of the logistics have had to come together super fast. So absolutely, there's been learning. There's also been interesting learning about how the best ways to reach people, to communicate things. We've learned a lot. I mean, just one interesting thing is, we got way more response of people coming to the site and learning about their benefits when we did social media than when we actually sent them a direct email.
Yeah, interesting.
So that when they saw it on social, more people saw it and reacted on social media than when we sent them a direct email. That was interesting to us.
Yeah,
I think people may have felt overwhelmed by, email messages and, some of it their eyes gloss over. But when they actually saw something that was a bit richer with a little more social content in it, they reacted. And so that was actually our most effective outreach channel. That's interesting. So we
that
wouldn't
is.
have known that. That's just something we've had to test our way into and learn from.
Yeah, it makes you reconsider everything. And you can't reconsider it too long, which is the beauty of it. You have to stop, think, and then react, which I like.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this also how we get things done and work together. We were building websites, within 2 weeks. We had to get a full-blown website up, and with all the right, and in our business, there's a lot of approvals and compliance issues and things like that. And just getting all the processes together and people at the table, just bringing them together to act was great because people rose to the challenge. It created connections that hadn't really existed before, certainly
Right.
not as tight. And I actually think one big silver lining is our ability to work together faster in a more interactive way. And I think people are seeing the value of that versus having to spin their wheels and be frustrated. And we can just get things done.
Absolutely. And I just want to bring this back to a personal level. For you personally, having living through this, and when we come out the other side, when you look back on this, can you see some things that you're changing mentally about yourself, about your thoughts, your behaviors, your habits that this will have an impact on? And this, I threw this at you. This was not something that we talked about before, but I'm seeing it in myself on the smallest levels and on the biggest levels. And I'm just wondering, do you feel like, okay, when this is all, I'm not going to, or I'm going to?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. I think one thing, just on a non-work level, is when I do decide to be offline and just spend time with my family, really relishing it and being present and
So true.
just taking it for the valuable time that is, and just going with it, not feeling like I have to get stuff done while I'm playing games with my family, just being there with in the moment with them, and that is great. I mean, the value of that is immeasurable, and just really seeing how important that is to all of us and to myself, giving myself permission to do that versus having to always live as though I have a to-do list.
Right.
So dropping the to-do list at times, just giving myself breathing room, I think is super important. And then the other thing that this has made me from a work perspective appreciate, because you see people in their homes, you see issues about their family and juggling, it just helps you appreciate everything else people have around them when they're in work, so that they do have all those other lives, and you've got to understand that and take that into consideration. And I've always felt I was good about that, but I think my appreciation for that and understanding what people are juggling, um,
Yep.
I'm kind of an empty nester now, so I forgot a bit what it's like to have young kids. Uh, so
Right.
somehow that just gets wiped
Adjusting.
out of your brain. But nonetheless, just reminding myself of what that is like and really appreciating what people are juggling. And that's very clear now in my mind. So I think that is something, on a personal level, both at home and work, that is definitely going to continue.
Well, David, I'm sure a lot of people know that you are on the board of directors of the Ad Club. And, when I asked you to be on the board, I did it because I knew how incredibly smart you were. But now that you're on the board, I have to say you have been an incredible human being. You've been so great to me, helping me through this board crisis, the Ad Club crisis, the sizing things up, figuring things out. So we are so appreciative of everything that you give to the Ad Club. So on top of being wicked smart, you're wicked kind. So we appreciate that. And
Well, well, thank you, Kathy. I just have always felt the Ad Club plays such an important role in the Boston community of bringing us together. It's just the best place for all the marketers, the agencies, the technology companies. I love the board, the connections, what we do. So it's all been a pleasure.
well, thank you. And again, thank you for all of you for joining us with the new series At Home With. And today it was David Edelman, CMO of Aetna. And we also, again, want to thank Log Me In for their generosity in allowing us to launch this with their services. So, David, I'll be sending you recipes of things that I see that I like. And I will see you virtually at the Thursday board meeting. So again, thank you for joining us. And this has been very fun. And thank you all for joining us.
Same here. Bye-bye.
All right, bye now.